How about that? Are we good now? That should be good, Sam. Just let me know. By the way, it's Sam's birthday. I think if that's right. Sam, if it's your birthday, let me know. That should be good, Sam. Got a little feedback here. Can you hear me, Sam? Give me a thumbs up. Kevin, can you hear me? I think I got it fixed. Got me. Great. Okay, so here's the deal. If you want to go on camera with me today, I can take one, maybe two on camera with me today. If you want to go on camera with me, shoot me a private message through Facebook and I will send you the download link and we'll go on camera and help everybody else out today. So Sam's saying it is his birthday. Sam, how old are you today, man? Happy birthday. I know we got another birthday boy. That's Francisco. Francisco in California, it's birthday too. Yeah, so if you want to join me on camera today, I've got room for one, maybe two. We can take them. And send me a private message through Facebook and I will grab that link for you to come on board with me. And all right, Kevin. You guys want to do it? Okay. Here comes the link, Kevin. Kevin. Let me find the other one. Okay, good. That should do it. Okay, what's on your mind today, folks? What do you want to talk about? Going to have Kevin Barrelle and got David Mathis coming on. Yeah, what's up, Kit? What's up? How you doing, David? There should be a link on there where you can unmute yourself.
Got it.
Gotcha. How you doing, David?
Good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Is Kevin going to join us?
Yeah, he had to make a run real quick. He's standing here. He's about to sit down.
I gotta get it propped. See y'all.
He was.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike Stinnett. Sam Biswell's here. Sam from Arkansas. Mathis Sheffield, how you doing, Mathis? Always great to see you. Austin's here. Matt Collins is here. Rodney Lawson, Tiger Roofing, El Tigre. Very good. James Cooper. All right, we're live in the RCO. What's going on, guys?
What's up? What's up?
David Mathis, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
What is this, the fourth time anybody's ever seen you on camera now?
I try to hide from Big Brother.
Yeah. Well, this one's live on the internet, man. So you're toast now. They're going to know exactly where to find you.
Jeez. I'm always at the Barrelle place.
All right. I'm going to be, hey, Nathaniel Irwin, he's watching. Nathaniel's from Crowley, Texas, does a really good job. SNE. Man, he does a good job out there. So Kevin, what's going on today, man?
Man, we've been inundated with phone calls, man.
Your phone's been ringing off the hook.
Off the chain, yeah.
Now, I'm sure that everybody that's listening to this right now, they want to know, how is your phone ringing off the hook? Seems like everybody else is kind of struggling with getting the phone to ring. How are you getting your phone ringing? Kevin?
Well, we actually, we did there was a lady that got she got scammed out of her insurance money.
What?
And we went out and put a
I'm gonna
roof
play
on.
like I don't know this story, Kevin.
Okay, so there was a lady that got scammed on her insurance money, and we went out and spoke with her, got in touch with the detectives, and we jumped on board, man, and put her a new roof on her house for free.
You put a roof on her house for free? That's pretty cool. That's not cheap, Kevin.
Luckily, ABC Supply donated the materials, so that helped a lot.
And then David Mathis donated the money for labor.
Man, that's right.
So tell us about this lady. Who was she? Why'd you decide to do something like this for her?
Well, she was a school teacher, and her dad was a veteran. She had USAA insurance, and she's a school teacher. And she doesn't have any money, man. School teachers are underpaid.
Right.
So
Yeah, my folks were both school teachers. Hey, I wonder, let me ask the group, if your parent was a school teacher, or you have a family member that's a school teacher, drop me a 1 in the group and let's see how many school teachers we have, because it seems like roofing and school teachers kind of go hand in hand with each other. I know a lot of roofers that know school teachers. So this lady, she didn't have a lot of money. The dude took off with her money. What happened to the dude? Did they catch him?
what's that? Yeah, well, they're actually still looking for him. We're changing up a little bit here. I think we have a little bit more room this way. I think they're still actively looking for him.
Not find him yet? What's his name?
Eric Lopez.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's a few of those guys out there with that name.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a story behind it. We've actually gotten people to call in to us. It was funny. One guy called and said, well, man, I gave that same dude $6,000 cash, man. And I was like, okay. And he said, well, I mean, what can y'all do? I was like, man, you need to call the detective, bro. Not fixing to run out there and just throw a roof on your house,
Right.
And then we just had another lady call and said she spent her insurance money and wanted to know if we could come down there.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do it. David's got deep pockets. David, you got family that's a school teacher?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Mike.
Do you have a family member that's a school teacher?
No, they're all poor, but no school teachers.
We got Rodney. I know Rodney's wife's a school teacher, so he's got a 1 in here. Nathaniel Irwin says school teachers in his family too. So this lady kind of touched your heart and you decided to put a roof on her house.
That's right.
Okay, so and ABC stepped up to the plate. How did you get ABC to step up to the plate?
I just called them and asked them.
It's amazing what happens when you just ask people to do stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question here. You didn't anticipate the news coming out like that, but I mean, I saw news cameras out in front of that lady's house.
That's right. Actually, it got shared on Facebook. We went live that morning, letting everybody kind of know what we were doing. And I want to throw this out there too. We do a lot of community outreach, but a lot of the stuff we do is in private. We don't just throw it out there. Hey, this is what we're doing. We're out here feeding the homeless people or stuff like that. We don't throw that stuff out there. This particular situation was different because she had been scammed.
Right.
Now, had it just been a school teacher that needed a roof and couldn't afford it, you'd have never known we done it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're trying to, you wanted to make sure the image of the industry wasn't tarnished by that there are good people out there.
Absolutely. Yep.
So your guys jumped in, your crew jumped in, ABC jumped in, the news jumped in, a lot of good PR came from that.
Well, and back to that, the news, the story got shared, the live feed got shared, and the news reached out to us and was like, "Hey, I want to cover this story. Can I come out?"
Okay, so what's happened since then? I mean, this was yesterday, right?
It was um, the obviously, I mean, the phones are ringing off the hook. A lot of people just calling to say thank you, for stepping up and taking care of that. A lot of people just emails just saying thank you. I mean, our phone started ringing last night at 11:30.
Oh wow. So
Yeah,
when the news was on, you were getting phone calls.
that's right.
And they ran it the evening news and the late news too?
Yes, it's on now too. They're playing it. It's going to run all day today as well.
Oh wow. That's crazy. All right. So Sean Diedemeyer, the great Diedemeyer. Diedemeyer. Isn't that a great name, man? It just sounds like
Pretty
you're dealing
awesome.
with somebody that's like the boss. Ron Savage, my good buddy Ron Savage. Someday I got to get Ron Savage online because man, this dude does crazy stuff with his roofing company. Like he's running cranes, massive cranes in the middle of the metropolitan area and blocking off streets so he can do roofs. I mean, that dude, that's another great name for a roofing guy too, right? Ron Savage.
The Savage, that's right.
Savage. Josh Puckett's watching. Hey, Josh, what's going on, man? Hey, I want you to show us a little. You don't have to tell us everything, but that board looks like it's got a lot of $1 million ideas on it back there.
It does actually. So, all right. So there's some names up there. So we kind of
Gotcha.
have to. I can show you some. I'll show you some.
Right. Wait a second. Let's get some audience participation. Show me hit that like button a few times if you want to see Kevin's board and see his $1 million ideas. Kevin, I'm going to make him wait for it. Okay.
All right.
So let's see if we can get some likes here. We'll show Kevin's board and have him hit those $1 million ideas.
Yeah. If we don't get enough, we ain't gonna do it.
We ain't going to do it if we don't get enough.
That's right.
Okay. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right. Okay. So people want to see it. Ron Savage says, haha, thanks. Ron, I want you on. I want to get you on here because guys will want to hear about your roofing adventures. Eric Thomason, an RCO Growth Kit member. Eric Thomason is watching. Eric will want to see this. Okay. All right, guys, get the message. You want to see it. Let's go.
Can you see that?
Show us what you got.
Can you see that?
A little bit.
It says member, join, family culture, community driven. Money is a byproduct of what we do. A full office staff and support, advanced training, advancement opportunities, no set schedules, uncapped income. And then look, I got some real good stuff right here that I'm fixing to show you. And Leanne, I watched that video a time and a half.
God, wasn't that good?
Yeah, can you see this? It says Google, Facebook ads, hashtags, video content. I came in this morning taking notes. And then down here we have all of our hashtags that we're doing on some gigs that we're fixing to put out with that. So and then we got our some of our teams broke down up here. Right there. So
Hey, can we go back to that first list, Kevin?
this one?
Yeah. Tell me what that stuff means.
All right. So this is our company right
Okay.
here. And this is these are things that we put out when we're looking for good sales guys, because all this stuff right here, it touches on feelings. It touches on, this is some of this good Mike Code training right here. It touches the feelers. There's emotions behind all this stuff. I can tie every one of these back to an emotion. And most of your sales guys are just looking for stuff like this. money as a byproduct of what we do, man, a lot of these high-end sales guys, they're not pushed by money. That's why they hardly ever stay at one company long.
That's true. Hey, 1 second. Emily, will you do me a favor? There's a special report on my desk on the left-hand side, talks about price.
Okay.
Would you bring that to me? I'd put my daughter on camera because she's all dressed up and looking beautiful, but she doesn't like to do it. So, all right. So that list right there is talking about your company culture.
That's right.
What's the most important thing on that list? Thanks, babe.
That they are, I'm going to say our culture,
Yeah.
and the community driven, because we didn't go into detail when that was wrote down, but that community driven deal right there that means you're a part of something bigger than you. That's right. And look, a lot of these companies that are out there, they don't have a full office staff. They don't have a full office. They just have one or two people in there managing, 20 sales guys.
Mhm.
Production goes down. We talked about that list the other day.
Yeah, I mean, that culture is part of the power tools, the 6 power tools, and that's what we talked about. I guess it was early this year when we did our 3 or 4 month sprint of training once a month with you. We talked
That's
about
right.
power tools, and the culture moves your company forward. And we went way in depth on that. But man, that's good to see you have some of that stuff spelled out on your board there.
And then this right here, this is I don't know, can you guys see this? This 8 weeks right here.
Yeah.
Qualifier, a minimum 10 jobs or $75,000. All paperwork turned in, the start date, and then the date that it ends.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner is going to be with the highest revenue.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually giving away. Let me put this bad boy back down right here.
Yeah.
We're actually giving away an AR-15, and
Sweet.
yeah, it's pretty bad. And then the giving away a couple watches
Mm-hmm.
in equal value to the AR.
Yeah. Which one's David going to win?
Well, look, we talked about that. Like, maybe we should jump in on this deal and go out there and push this thing. So
Yeah, it got me wanting to go back to sales for sure. Because I actually went and picked it up, so I bought it for me anyway.
Yeah.
And now
It's
I gotta
always
try to
It's always counterproductive when one of the owners wants to go back and win the sales contest. Babe, I didn't buy it for myself. I bought it. I just won. That's it. I just won.
I'm going
right.
to show up with 2 that day.
Jason is watching. Jason, the great Chuck Allen. The great Chuck Allen's in the house. Sean had to run, missing the mentoring. Yeah, Sean, I miss having you on those mentoring calls. Ron Savage, talking about your list there, leaving a legacy. Yeah, that ties in with the emotion and the culture. Very good, man. So, David, what's good? What's going on with you?
Man, I'm just here trying to help the growth.
You got a lot going on, don't you?
I have a pretty good bit going on, but I try to manage it well. We try to get in here at least a few days a week and talk as much as we can, and working on trying to schedule out some actual allotted time, see if we can get some things built up.
Let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of guys, I was talking to a really good company owner this morning, and he said he's trying to spend more time in the office, talking with his staff, talking with his people, so he can iron out the processes and get rid of the bottlenecks. But he keeps finding himself out in the field. He's actually doing the work, or he's, meeting the customers, or he's having to sell something. That's a tough place for an owner to be in when they feel like they got one foot in both worlds and they're going back and forth all the time. Have you solved that problem, David?
I've gotten a lot better about it, to be honest. I still get pulled just like you're talking about that other company owner and doing that. And basically, man, if I put it on my schedule, then I'll stick to it. If I say I'm going to do it and I don't actually write it down or commit to it, then it can go astray.
Yeah.
So I find that if I make sure I allot that time to do it, I will. And then whatever comes up, I just have to handle it. That's part of growth. Things are going to happen. You're going to have more problems in the growth process, and we're just working through those, and we're making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to make things happen.
Question for both you and Kevin. What's been the hardest part about getting out of the field and, getting into a place where you're, working on your business rather than in your business? What's been the hardest part for you guys?
I'm going to tell you, for me, I love sales.
Okay.
I love sales and I love interacting with people. So that transition was kind of hard. And then when I made the transition and finally stepped back, the sales guys actually liked me out there with them a lot. And so I had to distance myself in that process as well. I still go out with them from time to time. Like I went out, it was yesterday. I mean, took one of the guys and, my phone just kept ringing. I mean, it was like, I need you out here. I need you to come out and look at my roof. And this is before anything went astray on the Facebook page. And we got on 3 or 4 roofs yesterday before 11 o'clock. So.
Yeah, I'm going to ask David the same question, but heck yeah, if I'm a salesperson and I can get my company owner to come out there and be with me all day long, yeah, I'm gonna say, hey, I told you I'd be here, but here's the company owner, because they know the high-powered guy is going to close the job for them. Yeah, I want you out there. How about you, David?
I think efficiencies. I mean, I've been there and been through the whole process, and same thing with Kevin being able to close it. I think for me is I don't have to explain anything. I can knock it out quicker. I know I can do it. At least I feel like I do it more efficiently, more productive, and it's hard for me to pull back from that and trust in these guys to do that. It's gotten a lot easier because they either have to grow or fail, and giving them that opportunity to do one or the other, you find out what their mettle is, and we can kind of get to a quicker resolution. So I've been impressed with some of the growth of the ones I finally gave a chance to, instead of me stepping in and doing their job for them, making them have to do it. I've been impressed.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, if you're watching this right now and you're having a hard time stepping out of the way and allowing your people to take the reins of maybe sales or production or the office, and you've got questions about that, you want to ask Kevin or David, either one, drop them in the comments box and we'll do it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on rolling here. Okay, David, what's your actual expertise? Did you come at the construction side of business from the sales side? Did you work your way into ownership from the sales side, or did you work your way into ownership from, actually doing the work, being out in the field doing it?
Well, I grew up actually doing the work. Family of workers, all been in the construction field, just about every aspect of construction in general. And so I've always been hands-on. Sales come later. I did the work first. I realized I could make a lot more money doing it, on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn how to sell those jobs to be able
Yeah.
to do that. And just kind of grew from there. But I come from a very hands-on background. So I had to learn the sales process. I was not a natural at that by any means.
He just didn't know it.
Yeah, I mean, David can sell circles around 90% of the guys out there, and he thinks he's not good. That's funny. David, is it sometimes hard for you when you're sitting here right here and we're having a conversation, a high value conversation? Is it sometimes hard for you to sit still and talk and strategize and plan and not have your hands on a saw, or not have your hands on the lumber, or not have your hands on a bundle? I mean, is that hard? Do you feel like guilty for not working and using your mind instead?
I have gotten a lot better about it. Early on in the transition, I felt extremely guilty. I don't feel nearly as bad now because I know the role I play is very important for those guys to be able to actually succeed on their own, doing their thing. If I didn't do what I did, they wouldn't be able to. But I mean, in all honesty, I've got two separate crews out, and they haven't turned in yet. It's probably gonna be 6:30 before they even finish up. Probably 7:30 before they get home. I do kind of feel a little guilt there, not being right there with them, but at the same time, man, I think they have a good understanding as well. It makes me feel better when they know that what I do allows them to do their job, and I think we all have a good understanding of that. So a lot of the guilt has went away.
Yeah. It's hard when it's hammered into your head, from being young, especially if you're second, third generation construction. You show up at a job site and you sit down and you let your mind wander and think, and somebody will be after you pretty quickly saying, get back to work. So it's hard to transition that process. That's good stuff, David. I appreciate it, man. Kevin, which side did you come from? Did you come from the worker side or the sales and marketing side?
I was hands-on. I grew up hands-on, and I mean, I was in construction. My first job was roofing, and during the summer, I started when I was 14 years old, and and then from there, of course, back then, roofers were stoned, man. That's just the way it worked.
Right.
They were stoned and drunk. That's just the way it worked. And then, and I ventured out into construction, actually building, framing houses. And then I went into insulation, and then heating and air, electrical. So I've had my hands on just about every bit of it except for plumbing. That's probably the only thing that I haven't had my hands on a
Okay.
whole lot of.
How hard was it for you to make the transition from actually working with your hands to, working with your mind?
That was hard. That was real hard, especially whenever you have friends that work with you, and you have to make that transition to, you have to not necessarily the transition, but the separation,
Mhm.
and that was a struggle. And once everybody kind of ventured out and left, it made it so much easier on that transition because there was no feelings involved. It was an easy transition and went from there.
Yeah, it's hard to say, hey guys, you stay here and work, and I'm going to go back to the office and drink coffee and, write some stuff down on my yellow pad and make a few phone calls. That doesn't go over well with guys that are used to you being with them side by side all day on the job site.
That's right.
A little bit of jealousy.
I've always known, like I'm serious when I say this, like whenever I was out there with the gutter crew hanging gutters, or I was hanging off the side of a house painting it, or I was on the roof tearing it off, that one day this isn't where I need to be. You stay very busy doing that, and it's somewhat productive, but once you make that transition, productivity goes way up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and honestly, so does revenue.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about doing it yourself, like David was talking about, you can do it better than anybody else. You can do it faster than anybody else. You can handle, any problems that come up better than anybody else, but it doesn't scale. I mean, you can't increase revenue doing it all yourself. Somebody has to be able to do some of the things in your business, and you have to let it go. That's the hardest part for me, I think, is that as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is talented, I had a pastor, Phil Webb, when I was a kid, and he said, Mike, this is the problem you're going to have in life. You're extremely talented, and you can do anything that you set your mind to do. And I stepped back and I was like, well, thank you, Pastor. I was high school senior. Thank you. I mean, my head's already big anyway. And then he goes, but you can't do everything you want to do. You can do one, maybe two things. So narrow down your focus. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself wandering through life and being frustrated. was like, well, that took the air out of my sails right there. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do with life. That's why I got a business administration degree. So I didn't have to choose. And it took me a while to kind of figure out roofing and figure out coaching and mentoring. And along the way, I've realized, man, I got to let stuff go. Even in my agency, I have to have virtual assistants handle a lot of this stuff. I have to, write out processes and systems. This is how you handle this. I have to record videos. This is how you work with this. I've had to create SOP, standards operating procedures, and pass it off to them. And then just kind of watch them from the outside while I, sip my coffee and eat my oatmeal in the morning. And they get to do all the work because you can't scale doing it all yourself. It's just impossible.
Well, David and I talked about this too. When you're in the process of scaling, you're going to have problems.
True.
And it comes to a point to where it's okay because you've made it in that scaling process. You've made enough money to where you can afford to go back and fix it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to fix something when it goes wrong than it is to micromanage it the whole way. It's very exhausting.
Yeah. I think that, in the RCO growth kit, we, the first week we talk about limiting beliefs. And one of the limiting beliefs that holds people back is, the thought that they can't lose anything. If you can't lose it, you can't afford to take risks, which means you have to do it. You have to be the one doing it. Otherwise, you may go under. And the truth of the matter is, once you get up around 500, 750,000, definitely at $1 million in revenue, you can afford to lose. You can afford for somebody to mess up a job. You can afford to, put the wrong roof on and still recover from it. You can afford to make mistakes. Maybe when you're, doing 3 or 4 roofs, 10 or 12 roofs, you can't afford mistakes. But there's a point where you're carrying that old mindset of not being able to make mistakes, and you've gone way past that point, and now you're at a point where you can actually afford to make mistakes, but you still got that old mindset. And that old mindset is up here trying to be successful, and it's holding you back. It's throttling your success. You have to release that and say, okay, I can make mistakes. I can fail. I can fall down. We can, get up and go again, and it's going to be okay. But releasing that old mindset, that's tough.
Yep, absolutely. It's a constant struggle.
Yeah, especially if you're thrifty. If you're the guy, who, rubs 2 nickels together and you're always holding on to everything, you're like, well, we can't make that mistake. Hey, you dropped a nail over there. We can reuse that nail.
That's right.
Why'd you throw that, why didn't you throw that other half of the shingle over to the other side instead of throwing it in the trailer? My gosh, we need that. Get down the ladder and pick that up now.
That was me. That was me when we started. I would walk around and, when we were doing a 3-tab roof, I walked around because that's what I did when I was young. Is I walked around and picked up all the tabs that were on the ground, and when they come down to cut the hip and ridge, it was already there.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "No, I need another bundle." No, you don't. It's right there. It's all you cut it already.
Yeah.
I was rubbing 2 pennies together then. You know what I mean? I was like, "Nah, that's $27 you about to throw away."
Right. $27, man. I remember a day when $27 would have put gas in my car all week, got me a loaf of Wonder Bread and a thing of peanut butter.
That's right.
You're wasting. Hey, listen, when you start accelerating in growth, you have to be willing to accept that there is going to be waste. There is going to be inefficiencies. There's going to be excesses that you're going to have to allow for, because you can't grow without inefficiencies. If you want to be 100% efficient, maximize your efficiencies all the time, then you do it. You stay on it. You buy the bundles. You drive back and forth. You go to the other side of the house and nail on the other half of the shingle. You do all of those things and you'll be efficient. But efficiencies and wealth, they're 2 different sides of the spectrum. Anytime you see somebody with a lot of wealth, you're going to find that they have a lot of inefficiencies. And when you find somebody with a lot of efficiencies, you're going to find that a lot of times they lack a lot of wealth. Jeff Bezos, he tries to maximize both. He's always in this world where he's fighting for both. But even Jeff Bezos has inefficiencies in his operations. You just can't have both of them working together.
We got any questions?
We got something from Ron Savage. I think I got to say Ron Savage's name the same way I like say, Ron Savage.
Savage.
Ron Savage. Ron says another part of the transition from field to office that's tough is emotional intelligence and trying to figure out what makes each person tick and what bothers them emotionally on a daily basis. Now, Ron is talking some deep crap here, isn't he?
Yep.
Because out in the field, you're like, hey, I don't care how you feel about it. Go over there and get that shingle. We're nailing it on. But in the office, you can't talk to people like that.
Mm-mm. You have to cater to the personalities.
Yeah, it's exhausting mentally. Yeah, I mean it is. It's like, oh my gosh, and I mean it drains you, But that's a part of that transition. But once you've got it figured out, it's second nature. It's like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. I can deal with it and move on.
Yeah. Do you have one particular sales guy that just gets under your skin, David?
Yeah.
Mike's smiling from ear to ear.
How do you handle that, man? Because I know that you're a very principled man, and right is right and wrong is wrong, and you expect people to kind of line up with your philosophy. And I know for a fact, because you're accelerating in your growth, you're going through growth kit. Because you're accelerating in your growth, you're having to take on some personalities that don't exactly line up with your philosophy.
Yeah, I used to be able to just separate myself from that when when I wasn't growing, obviously. But man, I've had to learn that people are who they are. We're all different. There's probably quite a few folks who don't like my personality, maybe because of the way it is. It is straightforward. It is very, I don't know, I'd say I am very rule oriented / process oriented. So I've just had to learn that we are all different. I can see that what they do for us is a huge benefit. So I try to rein in the other side just a little bit I guess in a, not a demanding way, but an understanding way, and see if we can curtail some of that. And if not, then we kind of grow around it if they're worth growing around.
Yeah. That's the money. That's the conditional phrase right there that pays if they're worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, and they do well to listen to you because obviously, I mean, you're more successful than they are. You know how to make money. You know how to scale your business better than they do. So they should be listening to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we even have some guys that, man, I feel like he's right here under my wing and I really like his personality, but having a hard time getting him to understand that we have done all the things they keep approaching us with and trying to teach them that, listen, man, if we just smack all that in the ground right now and you just do these 2 or 3 things we're telling you, you're going to be so much more successful than you can imagine without wasting all your time with us. And I mean, I was young too, and didn't want to listen. So I guess they're going to have to learn some of this on their own. But I just wish they would just listen to the mistakes we made, and life would be just so much simpler.
Yeah. Reminds me of telling my dad one time, Dad, leave me alone. I would just want to make my own mistakes. And he said, go ahead. And then 20 years later, I look back and I said, maybe I should have listened to him that one time when he told me that.
All right, there we go. You were froze up.
Yeah, I'm good now. I was just saying, when you're older and wiser, you actually do know some things. And when you're younger, you think that the guys above you don't, you think you can figure out a better way than what they figured out.
They're stupid.
Yeah.
What's funny is they're doing the same way that we have proven failed. It's like, oh, geez. But
it's crazy how that works.
Yeah. Well, we had to learn too somehow. So.
Yeah. All right, Kevin. You got anybody that particularly grates on your nerves?
Yeah. And I've learned to deal with it. I've learned to deal with it. And I sometimes want to take my thumb and just push them down. I'm like, man, listen to what I'm saying. I know that this will work. Just do it. And it doesn't work like that. I've tried that. And what happens is they slip out of your thumb and they move on, and I've had to transition. It's been hard to take that step back and just kind of let them do what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really care what you do. You bring me in 4 or 5 contracts a week and we'll work around it.
Yep, we'll make a process around it.
Right. But if it's not working, maybe you should try it my way.
That's right.
Maybe I might know something you don't know.
Yep.
God, that sounds like my dad. All right. If you guys have questions for David and Kevin, drop them in the comments box. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep marching on here and we'll move on to the next topic. Next topic is this. What are you guys doing as far as you're in the middle of you're in the middle of a big PR promotion right now that's going on and your phone's ringing off the hook because of helping that school teacher out, getting her roof on. But what else is on the horizon here? What's next for you guys?
Well, right now we are diligently working on another branch kickoff, and we gotta get that thing manned. We have a manager in there, and we've got him a part-time guy with him, and we're making the transition.
Mm-hmm.
We're working diligently on that.
So who's leading that branch? Which one of you two are taking the charge on that one?
We are.
Oh, it's a joint effort.
Yep.
Good. Is it far away?
I don't know, about an hour.
30 miles.
Yeah, about 30 miles. Yeah.
Okay. So close enough where you keep an eye on them, far enough away where they can kind of work some different territory.
That's right.
Right.
Listen, are you still, I knew in the previous weeks that you were having people come in and you were doing training with them and bringing in first-time guys. Are you still having guys come in? Are you still open to people coming in and working with you?
Yeah. So we got one guy that's supposed to be in on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And, I learned a little bit from Sean. So I think what I've been trying to do is seek somebody out to actually take care of all that stuff and get them out, get them trained. And, so they can, it frees up my time where I'm not in here all day on Tuesday teaching somebody what plywood is.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite discussion is always, here's a 3-tab and here's a 30-year, or here's a 3-tab, here's a architectural.
Yeah.
I don't get it. What's the difference? I don't see it.
Yeah.
You ever have guys that can't tell the difference between 3-tab and arc?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, you don't see that? You don't see that.
Well, I sat in here all day. I sat in here for probably 8.5 hours one Tuesday teaching a new guy. When I asked him if he knew what decking was, he said, I have no clue. I have no idea what any of that is. And I was like, oh my God. So I got to step it all the way back. And I took it all. I moved back and teached him what decking was and, how they nail it off, the whole 9 yards. That way, they can tell what they're looking at on a roof. And the guy quit 2 days later. So, yeah. And I get it, that's an investment you make of your time, but it's not time that you ever get back in a situation like that. So I'm definitely looking for somebody to step in and do that training on Tuesdays.
Either of you guys ever hire a salesperson that could sell really well, but he didn't understand roofing at all?
I think yes. You remember Mike?
I do.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day.
Yeah, he was a good salesman, huh?
Yep. That dude knew nothing about roofs, man. He'd come in with 6 or 7 contracts signed, half drunk, with a sports jacket on, and throw them down and be like, yeah, I just signed all these up.
That's right.
And then leave. and you wouldn't see him for 2 or 3 days, and then he'd show back up and he'd have 1 or 2 more.
Now we're not going to say Mike's name in case it gets out there, but all three of us here know Mike and highly regard his sales ability. I mean, guys like that, they hit spurts, man, and they hit spurts, and everybody they talk to, they're like, yeah, just go ahead and sign that right there. Yeah, we'll take care of it. 1, 2, 3 deals, 4 deals.
He was great at that, man. The hardest part was, I wish we could have hired somebody just to work with Mike directly.
Mhm.
He could have produced enough to keep somebody on payroll to keep him straight. I mean, that was a learning lesson, I think.
Now let's flip it around. You ever train somebody that knows the roofing system backwards and forwards, up and down, one side, the other, down to how many nails go into a 10-foot piece of drip edge, and they can't sell?
I guess we got to figure out what the definition of can't sell is. There's plenty of them that only turn in a few contracts a month.
Or 1 every 2 months.
Yeah. You know, I started out as that person that had thought that the material, and they knew all the material and thought that was important. And yeah, we try to actually train these guys up a little different, where they're not as worried particularly about that, more on the sales process. So we try to avoid that as much as possible.
You know, Uncle G says, he says, all you got to do is teach them how to sell. And that's all you got to do. Teach them how to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all the other stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, product knowledge, if you know how to sell, you can leverage your product knowledge into your sales presentation and you can sell it. So that's where I know that David's at this level that most guys will never get to, as far as understanding the product and the installation. And then he combined that with knowing how to sell. And now he's a lethal weapon, because when you know what the product warranty says on the wrapper, and you can sell, you're dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you know what the product wrapper says and you can't sell, people can't get rid of you fast enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, David and I were talking about this earlier, and so whenever he was selling with us, he came and he had a notebook. And when he showed up, I was like, dang, this dude showed up to take notes. You know, I was like, this is impressive. I had no idea that notebook was full of questions. There was no note taking. It was full of questions. He was asking me all day long, and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, he made me think. You know, I was like, dang, I ain't had nobody ask me anything like that. And you know, I was impressed with the fact that he was asking all the questions. And you know, these guys that come in, they just teach me how to sell, and I'm going to go sell something. And I'm like, that's right on, you know. Not that there was anything bad about what David did then. It was just completely caught me off guard.
Yeah. No, David, you ask good questions, man.
Good question.
It's kind of funny when I'm working with clients, or, you know, I'm on the phone and somebody books a call with me and they're trying to see if we're a good fit to work with each other, and I'm trying to feel them out. You know, I ask the ones that I know that I'm not going to spend any time with anymore. They answer the question, they move on, and they're interested in, you know, solving a $1 million problem with a $5 answer. You know, but the good ones, the ones that I end up working with, they ask really good questions. And then they'll come back and they'll ask even better questions after that. And you can almost tell the difference in who's going to be good and who's going to be bad based on the questions they ask you. How do you know you're talking to a salesperson who's going to be good, Kevin? What's up, Matt? Matt Andrews is in the house.
What's up,
Matt's
Matt?
an RCO Elite member. What's up, Matt?
So, you know, when a sales guy comes in and they're asking about, first of all, they ask how many roofs we do.
Mhm, mhm.
And I know why they do that is because they want to make sure that we can handle the volume that they bring.
Right, right,
How many crews do you have?
right.
Those are very elementary questions, but they're very good questions because I think they're sizing us up to see if they'd be able to, produce here and not hit their limits. Not just that. I mean, they ask about, what kind of process do you have? What's in place? What's your pay scale?
Mhm.
You know, that's pretty much, I would say that's pretty much it. I mean, they start asking those questions, I know that they're going to be good.
Yeah, it concerns me when a salesperson doesn't ask those questions.
That's right.
David, how do you know when you're talking to somebody that's going to be good at sales?
Like you said, it's first with the questions. Just like Kevin said, they want to know how we're handling our processes, how we can handle what they're selling, how they know we can keep up with them. Usually the last question though, if they're harping on money a lot, then I know that's not who I need to be talking to.
Right.
I mean, obviously the questions are, when are jobs paid and so forth, but when the whole conversation's about money, I know that's the wrong person for me. When the conversation's about, again, keeping up with their pace, the training, our process, the people around us and what we do, things like that, then I know that we've got somebody who's on board. They, as far as the little things I look for, that gets difficult because sales guys are unique. Not all of them are always prompt as they should be sometimes. I'm very particular about that stuff, but presentation means a lot. They show up looking professional and ready to sell. They don't show up, torn shirts, messed up hair, which I need to put my hat back on. But they present themselves well and they present the right questions and they give me a sense of somebody because we want professional people.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think that is an important point there. When a salesperson shows up and they're concerned about their image, that's a pretty good sign.
Yep. I got a real good one. He asked me what my sock game is all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your sock game.
Yep.
Is your sock game strong?
It is.
Yeah.
I actually have on pink socks today.
That's awesome. Hey, we're going to wrap this up, guys. Any final comments? Anything you want to say before we get off the air here?
Has anybody got any questions? I mean, did they bail or?
Everybody's just kind of waving and checking in and sitting around. So not a lot of questions here. I think that when people sit there and they watch and they listen, that we're probably right on target with what they'd like to hear. So that's what it was like today.
I want to open it up for somebody to ask that $1 million question.
Okay.
Let's burn the brain cells up before we get off of here.
Okay, guys, we've got 5 minutes. I'll stay on here for 5 more minutes and I'll talk for a second here. If you've got $1 million question, a question that'll make a big difference for your business, I want you to ask it in the comments. Otherwise, let me just say again, if you missed yesterday's phone call, and yesterday's phone call was fraught with technical difficulties. We had to start, stop, restart. I don't even know what happened. Kevin, it was bad. I told you about it. It was terribly bad. But if you missed the queen of social media branding, Leanne Koppel, you need to find that recording and watch it because there are gold nuggets all the way through that thing that'll help you grow your business. The other thing I want to talk about is this. I have this special report that I prepared a couple years ago about how to get higher profits and make more sales for your business. And that special report is now available. So if you want that special report, drop me a private message and I will send you the landing page where you can download it. This is it, 6-7 pages. Kevin, you remember the first time I sent this out, don't you?
Yep.
That was a while ago. I kind of kept it in the vault for a while. every once in a while I'd send it to somebody, but this has not been seen for a while, and I've spruced it up, cleaned it up, and it's ready to go. So if you want this special report, send me a private message and I'll get it to you. All right, I think we got $1 million question.
Uh-oh.
It's Matt Andrews. So he's RCO Elite. He's in there in that private group with us, Kevin, but he wants to know, what pay system do you guys use? 10%, 10, 50, 50 split?
Right. So we're structured.
How do you do that?
We're structured. We start everybody out, unless they come in at a high, as a high producer or whatever. But we start everybody out at 40%.
Okay.
Once you hit $150,000 in sales, or no, $100,000 in sales, we'll bump you up to 45%. And then once you've hit an additional $250,000 in sales, so a total of 350, we bump you up to 50%. And you got to maintain that in order to stay there. And then we have opportunities above that. Once they hit $500,000 in sales, we'll make a truck payment for them or something like that. And
Gotcha.
then we have branch opportunities. The branch opportunity, yeah, there's a number on that, but there's also a maturity level that goes along with that.
Gotcha.
You got to be responsible. You got to want to grow, and and there's even ownership opportunities that we have. So, but yeah, everybody starts out at 40% for the most part, and
that's after the overhead allocation.
yeah, it's a 12, 40, 60 to start out.
Mm-hmm. Why do you start them out at 40%? Why not just go straight to 50?
Because that's what most companies do, right?
Training money.
Yeah, if I'm going to train you and bring you up in this, then I got to get paid for that time, obviously. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that 40%, it gives them motivation to sell more and want to move up that ladder faster, especially when there's a whole group of guys that come in, mm-hmm. because then it's a competition. I'm going to hit 50% before you.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about huge leaps and tiers either.
That's right. They're very obtainable.
100 grand's, man, you can hit that.
One job.
Yeah. And it's real easy for a lot of these guys to step in during their 30-day training period to hit that 100 grand in the first 60 days, 90 days. It's not difficult at all. So hopefully by the time as they're moving up in percentages, they're becoming more efficient in the process too.
So Matt, RCO Elite member, wants to know, Kevin, do you provide the leads for the guys?
A fed bear becomes a dead bear. Maybe you need to let that one out of the vault.
Maybe so.
So we do provide some, right? And but we give those leads to the guys that actually are producing. If you're sitting at, if you haven't turned in a job in 2 months, we're not going to give you a lead.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give it to the guy that's been out there knocking doors and producing jobs and making things happen.
And showing some commitment to the company.
That's right.
I guess Matt's going to go for 3 million. So here's a third one. Are you using Facebook ads and any other type of lead generation besides the big man? I know that he's talking about me because I do his Google ads and do his SEO, much like I do for you guys as well. Are you using anything else besides what I'm doing, for you, Kevin?
To produce leads or to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're heavily involved in the community, man. We're heavily branded in the chambers of commerce. David and them do some BNI. I don't really know. I think it's Business Networking International or something like that. Then obviously we really don't do a whole lot of Facebook ads. Everybody's doing that, and not to say that it's right or wrong. We just haven't done a lot of it. Looking for jobs. Mm-hmm. I look for different opportunities. Like I don't go the conventional way with leads. Obviously, we use, the marketing system that you provide, but the best thing we ever done was cut that. I mean, because at one time we were spending what, $7,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and just with Google.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's one of those deals, depending on your market, but it's one of those deals where sometimes if you'll lower your lead commitment, you'll move down to where you get higher quality leads, and it forces the guys to take that one lead and turn it into two. It forces them to go knock on the neighbors' doors. It forces them to stay, hungry and competitive. And listen, if you have a guy that's hungry and he's competitive and he gets a lead, you're almost guaranteed that one lead or that one sale is going to turn into multiple sales. But if you're feeding a guy to where he's, got a bunch of leads and he's like, oh, I got to drive over here, then I got to drive over there, and gas is so expensive, you're just giving me a lot of leads here. Well, he dumbs down, or she, whichever one. They dumb down and they don't have that aggressive edge anymore. And so sometimes one deal turns into a half a deal because they lose it and they've lost their edge. They're not focused and they're not aggressive anymore. Like you said, a fed bear is a dead bear.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Matt, I'm gonna defer this last question. Jump into the RCO Elite group and ask it there, and I'm sure Kevin would be more than happy to answer that one. But we're gonna have to tie it off because we're 3 minutes over. And that's it for this week. Grab this special report. Send me a PM. I'll drop you the link. Go back and watch Leanne Koppel's social media branding. It's brilliant stuff. If you have a question for Kevin or David, look them up on Facebook. They're more than happy to help you. And Matt, drop this last question in RCO Elite. That's it for today, guys. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mike.
Peace out.